Good afternoon. I'm Caitlin Matson-Levy, and this is the Classical Cafe. I am welcomed in the green room by Timothy Jones. Dr. Jones is not only a professor of violin at Wichita State University, he is associate concertmaster of the Wichita Symphony Orchestra, and he is the guest soloist with the Hutchinson Symphony. And I have their conductor with me as well, Richard Koshgarian. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Talk to us, Richard, about the upcoming concert. When is it and what's on it?
What's on it and when is it? Those are great questions. It is the 21st, next Thursday, a week from this coming Thursday, at the Fox Theater in Hutchinson at 7:30 p.m. The orchestra will be performing, of course, the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto with Dr. Jones. And in addition, we'll be offering a piece by American composer Samuel Barber, his Overture to the School for Scandal. And we'll be playing Aaron Copland's Appalachian Spring.
Excellent program.
Not bad. Yeah, not bad for a
bad.
dollar.
Not bad at all. To get tickets, you just go to hutchinsonsymphony.org. Just head on over to their website. They also have a really strong social media presence, and you can't really miss them on Facebook or Instagram. And they always kind of direct you in the right place to get those tickets. And hello to you, Timothy Jones, Dr. Jones. Um, Tell us a bit about, well, first of all, I'm really curious about life as a gig worker, a gig performer. You're not only a professor, which goodness knows keeps you busy enough, but you're also constantly performing. Tell us a bit about where you perform, who you perform with, the opportunities that you've had over the years.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. It is indeed a very busy life. I often have to remind myself what a privilege it is to have this type of career because it is so demanding, I think, more than a lot of people might imagine. So, especially coming out of last year when we really weren't performing at all, most of us. This has been a pretty intense season. I've been performing, of course, with the Wichita Symphony. Also, the Wichita Grand Opera gave a concert earlier this year. We have had chamber music performances with faculty members from Wichita State. And of course, in the summers, we also have the chamber music at the Barn series and so on. So, really coming out of winter break, I believe I played 7 concerts in 8 weeks. So it has been
Oh my
quite
goodness.
intense.
Oh wow. Um, and that added on to the duties of teaching. So you're you're a studio violin professor. I mean, you have a private studio, or I shouldn't say private, you have a studio at the university. And but then you also teach other classes. What classes do you teach?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So, I do some work in the music ed department, teaching string methods, which is a class where education majors who are not string players typically learn to play and teach the string instruments if they would find themselves, in a middle or high school situation.
Hmm.
I also teach string pedagogy with my fantastic colleague Leonid Shukayev, the cello professor here. String pedagogy covers a lot of information about not only teaching but also playing and history, the history of pedagogues, and so on. And just this semester, I've started co-teaching uh, a course which is a gen ed, so for non-fine arts majors. I'm teaching a class with a dance and a visual art professor on the fine arts as a whole, which
Oh,
has been
that's
a really fun,
great.
yeah, a very fun experience.
That sounds like a really wonderful collaboration. So, Timothy, you grew up in the area, right?
I did.
So, have you ever had an opportunity to drive up and play with the Hutchinson Symphony before?
Incredibly, I have not played with the Hutchinson Symphony, so I'm really looking forward to that. My sister, Dory Thompson, formerly Dory Jones, she did play, I believe, for a few years, if I'm not mistaken, with the Hutchinson Symphony. Dory was my first teacher when I was mm, about 8 years old. So there's definitely a family connection there and a history, but I have not personally played with them.
We'll be back and talk more with Richard Koshgarian about the Hutchinson Symphony and their season and their mission, and talk more with Tim Jones as well. We're going to hear just a few minutes of Tim, what you're playing with the symphony. Tell us a bit about it, this Tchaikovsky.
Well, it is one of the most epic violin concertos in many ways. It's certainly one of the most celebrated, one of the most well-known. I couldn't say with certainty that it's one of the longest, but it's definitely a hefty piece. So Tchaikovsky really knew what he was doing. He knew the string instruments very well, so
Oh, that's great.
it's just very beautifully crafted and exciting.
We're going to hear about 3 minutes, not long. Yeah, we're going to hear about 3 minutes of the finale, the third movement of the Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto with Itzhak Perlman and the Israel Philharmonic. And we'll be back to talk more of the Hutchinson Symphony. Itzhak Perlman and the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra. That was part of the third movement of Tchaikovsky's Violin Concerto in D. Dr. Timothy Jones will be the soloist playing that concerto with the Hutchinson Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Richard Koshgarian. I have both of them with me right now in the green room, and that concert is April the 21st at 7:30, and it is presented in Hutchinson's historic Fox Theater. Richard, you are nearing the end of your season. You still have a summer concert. But you tell us a bit about what your hometown tour has been about.
Well, we decided early this year to sort of just do a year of, if you will, outreach concerts within our own community. We have been doing concerts at the Fox Theater since I've been music director. It's 15 plus years, and decided to just go to a few other venues and see how that went. It's been this fun year. It's been an interesting year. It's always interesting playing in new facilities. I'm sure Tim, can you go into a hall and you perform somewhere, your sound is a little different and the reaction time is a little different and the articulations are a little different and all those sort of adjustments. But it's been a good year for us. I think that helps you grow as a musician. Acoustics is, I'm not going to get into a spiel here, but it's a part of music that we don't talk a lot about, but it certainly is crucial to everything that we do. So it's a process, and I think it's been a good process for us. We performed at the Hutchinson Community College, their Stringer Fine Arts facility back in February. And of course, this concert that we're doing coming up will be back home, if you will, at the Fox Theater.
This is an interesting topic. We're not, like he said, we won't go into the science of acoustics, but I do have a question for Tim about it. So I'm a vocalist, and vocalist, always adjusting to the space you're in, the room you're in. And, you're like physically adjusting to it, as something that you're uncomfortable with. Is it the same for a violinist? Do you walk in and are you playing differently depending on the space? If you're outdoors, if you're indoors, if it's a gymnasium?
Yes, yeah, this is a great consideration, and Richard really did nail it. It's absolutely true. We are almost hyper aware of
Hmm.
not just the sound that we're making, but the sound that we're getting back. You really have to be listening to everything around you and to the way that the sound returns. This is something I think for students especially, it's often a bit mind opening, to realize how different
Yes.
your playing has to be to adjust to different spaces.
Right. And also you're listening. You have to listen across the orchestra, have all your senses on high alert, because the change in acoustics can suddenly half the orchestra is a beat behind the other half of the orchestra, and what happens
It's
then.
true.
Sure.
It's true. And we'll often we'll practice in such small spaces, practice rooms, classrooms, a lot of times very resonant, and a hall may be more like a cathedral, or it may be a little bit dead, and even the audience, the presence or lack of an audience can really affect the way the sound returns. So you really can't let your guard down or turn your brain off.
Mhm. Richard, when will you announce next season?
We are very close, actually. We have that pretty well set at this point, but I think we're waiting for a few pieces
Oh, we lost you there for a moment.
to fall in place to announce it. So, oh yeah, I said we have we have the season tentatively planned at this point, repertoire, and waiting for a couple of other pieces to fall into place before we make the formal announcement. So I would expect here in the next few weeks, probably by the beginning of May, we should have an announcement for the 2022-23 season.
That's exciting.
It is
This,
exciting. I'm very excited about it. Yeah, it's going to be a fun year. So
yes, and after the past couple years, I think we can only go up from here in all aspects of life.
oh my goodness, yes, right. The candy shop has been closed and it's reopened, and we have we have some money in our pockets. Everybody is having a good time again. It's nice to see.
Yes. Thank you both so much for joining me today, and it was lovely to talk with you. Richard Koshgarian is the conductor of the Hutchinson Symphony Orchestra, and Dr. Tim Jones is a professor of music at Wichita State and associate concertmaster of the Wichita Symphony. He is the guest soloist at the next hometown tour concert that the symphony is presenting on Thursday, April the 21st at 7:30. The venue is Hutchinson's historic Fox Theater. For tickets, go to hutchsymphony.org. That's hutchsymphony.org. Also, be on the lookout for announcements for next season. And they have one summer concert in June, on June the 10th. Their summer concert series, part of at the Dillon's Nature Center. Is that right, Richard?
That is absolutely correct.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for joining me, and have an excellent concert.